Hi everyone, I'm Emily Longeretta.
And I'm Michael Schneider, and welcome to Variety's Awards Circuit, where we're looking at some of the key television categories in this year's Primetime Emmy race. This time we're looking at the Outstanding Drama category, and last year's winner, Succession, is no longer eligible since it completed its run, so let's look at this year's contenders.
All right, let's kick it off with The Crown, because over the past years, it's had 69 nominations, won 21 Emmys. Of course, it was nominated last year for Best Drama. This is the last time it's eligible.
Last chance to give The Crown the crown, shall I?
Nice, I love that.
But yeah, and it's the only sort of incumbent past winner that is here, so automatically that makes it the front runner, but we'll talk about a few other contenders as well. But first, tell us a little bit more about The Crown.
Yeah, I think this was the front runner. I think before changes happened in the category, this was the front runner for drama, especially with Succession out of the conversation. But Jonathan Pryce, Dominic West, Elizabeth Debicki, this cast is so strong, and they gave a really powerful final season. I think that that's something that people want to award because, of course, that last view of Princess Diana at the end of her life, I think it was a really, really powerful performance.
Yeah, and what Peter Morgan did in creating this and sort of staying true to what he wanted to do, which is tell the complete life of Queen Elizabeth, and of course with her passing, this makes it even more poignant to end the show the way it did, and it does feel like people are clamoring to give it some awards.
Well, we'll see if it can. It has swept before. We've seen Emmys where it has taken everything, so we will see what happens.
It has, but The Crown now has a contender, a serious competitor in Shogun. Shogun, of course, as we know, the original miniseries on NBC way back in 1981, cleaned up at the Emmys back then for miniseries and for all categories. This time around, Shogun's back on FX, but we thought it was going to be a limited series up until a few weeks ago when FX decided they wanted to do more episodes, they wanted to do more seasons, and as a result, it has entered the drama race, and it could be a real spoiler.
Do not be fooled by our politeness. Our bows are made of rituals.
That's going to be so crazy to me if Shogun ends up kind of taking over everything, and I think that there's a really high chance of that. Everyone is talking about it. It took multiple years to complete this, and it's so incredibly done that I think a lot of people originally thought, well, definitely Below the Line it's going to get the recognition, but it's definitely the actors people are talking about, and there's a really great performances from people who haven't been in the Emmy conversation before.
Yeah, Hiroyuki Sanada, Anna Sawai, names that we haven't heard of, but who just killed it. And of course, when we talk about creating a new version of Shogun, a Shogun that's very different from that NBC original. Rachel Kondo and Justin Marks, really a genius how they managed to create this for the 21st century.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll see if they end up doing more of it. We'll see, it's up in the air right now.
Definitely.
But one thing that's not up in the air is that the Gilded Age is such a big part of the conversation. It, of course, won for production design for a narrative period. I think last year it kind of faded in the background, and now I think a lot of people are talking about Carrie Coon, a lot of people are talking about Morgan Spector.
Oh, a lot of people are talking about Morgan Spector.
Well,
just
of course
beard.
they are.
I just want to talk about that beard.
Exactly.
And Christine Baranski as well. I mean, this is a killer cast. But also, you know, with a lot of their shows off, like we mentioned, Succession is no longer HBO Max's darling. So, you know, this is sort of their big play over at HBO/Max.
Yeah, I think for good reason. I think, again, this is another show that Below the Line has always been so impressive, but this last season proved that these actors, the writing is really, really coming to compete and has a really big chance.
You seem to have won the first battle.
I intend to win the war.
Now, another show that I think is back in the conversation, partly because some of the other contenders are gone, is Apple TV Plus's The Morning Show. This is a show that's been around for a while.
One of my favorites.
Some people love it, some people love to hate it, some people hate to love it, but nonetheless, it's won an Emmy in the past for Billy Crudup back in 2020. It's gotten 11 nominations over the course of its run, but with Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, of course, leading the charge. They're killing it. This season, we had Jon Hamm, who is in everything I love these days.
People love Jon Hamm, understandably.
Yeah, I feel like we'll be talking about Jon Hamm in every episode of Awards Circuit this season because he's in everything. But of course, also Nicole Beharie really killed it this season coming on. There's a great moment between her and Holland Taylor that is on everyone's Emmy reels, and that'll be one we're talking about for a while. Charlotte Stout is the new showrunner. She took over, and I thought really brought it up to speed and really did a great job this season in sort of tempering the camp, which we love. with some of the real dramatic moments too on this show.
I mean, the morning show went to space, okay? We got to just point that out. And I think that that's something that's fun. It keeps it in the conversation. Like you said earlier, love to hate, hate to love. Either way, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Another show that we are talking about is The Curse. Of course, this got nominations for at the Globes, Emma Stone from the WGA, for Breakthrough Series at the Gotham TV Awards. Nathan Fielder and Benny Safdie. I mean, what a duo of creating a show. And then, of course, Nathan also starring in it.
Yeah, yeah, and this is a show, if you haven't seen the ending, it goes in such an interesting direction, and I'll be curious to see how that impacts its performance with the nominations. But it's kind of like unlike any other show out there.
A lot of people are wondering if it belongs in the drama category, if it's a comedy, if it's a cringeworthy something that's happening. But again, we're talking about it, and it does have such strong dramatic elements that I do understand why it's here.
Yeah, yeah. I think, Nathan Fielder is known for his cringe comedy, so that's partly why we're sort of confused, what is this show? And it could have gone either way. Yes. Emma Stone, who of course is having a career right now, is incredible in this, but also it's again, unlike anything we've seen.
Which is so nice. I think it's really important and interesting to point out new creative content in a time where so much is just taking IP or reboots or remakes, and this is something completely unlike anything we've seen.
Yeah. Now, a show that's been around for a while, but I think again because drama more than any category is just wide open this year, and that's going to allow some shows that haven't really been recognized in the past finally get some attention. And I feel like Slow Horses, a show that's not about horses, not about slow horses, but it's a MI5 drama starring Gary Oldman, who I think is a front runner also. This is a show that's never gotten any nominations at Emmys, even though it's in its third season, but this is the year that it's really kind of breaking out. The showrunner's name is Will Smith, which is not the rapper / actor Will Smith. It's also not the Dodger player Will Smith. We have too many Will Smiths in our entertainment business.
I like that you started Will Smith with rapper before actor. That's what I really love that for you.
That'll go on our highlights reel. It's a show about MI5 rejects. It's actually a great idea for a show. I hate the title because it's taken me years to realize it's not a Yellowstone ripoff. It's a spy drama that I'd love to see more of. So move past the title.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman's amazing. This is a show that you need to catch up on, and again, a front runner.
I would say Gary Oldman is someone who obviously has been beloved by all over the awards, especially usually on the Academy side when it comes to film. So I think having him in this role and continuing this role, people are talking about it. The fans who love this show really, really love this show for a good reason. He has quite the performance, and if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth catching up on.
And I'm Gen X, so Will Smith will always be a rapper to me. He's the Fresh Prince, but this is not that Will Smith.
Well, speaking of things that have been redone, let's do Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is also one of the frontrunners this year, and it was nominated at the Gotham TV Awards for Breakthrough Series. Of course, this is Donald Glover and Maya Erskine's take on the amazing Brangelina movie. I don't know if you thought that I was going to go there.
Before that, Mr. and Mrs. Smith's like a franchise that's been around for a while.
Sure.
It's instead of Brad Pitt and Angelina, we do have Donald Glover and Maya Erskine, who I love. I love both of them. Of course, Pen 15, one of my favorite shows of all time with Maya.
Of course.
And Donald Glover's Donald Glover. I mean, he'll always be Community's Donald Glover to me, but obviously he's childish
rapper
Gambino.
Donald Glover.
Later on, nonetheless, they're both so charming, and this is a fun show. It's also, I love the standalone episodes. Every episode's another sort of caper that they have to pull off, and it's unexpected as we learn who they are in real life.
Of course, and this is another one that a lot of people weren't sure if it should go in drama or comedy, but they really both give such great. The dramatic scenes are really, really powerful, and the guest stars that our showrunner was able to bring into the show are so impressive. Every single episode. We have a recent story that came out, and we actually talk about the pets that she also was able to bring in. So I think that this show overall was just one that people really enjoyed and were really looking forward to watching and really enjoyed watching.
And apparently there's going to be more, although they're still so dicey on whether or not Donald and Maya are coming back or not.
We'll see. It could be new people. That could work. In that story, it could definitely work.
Well, because there are many Mr. and Mrs. Smiths, as we discover, including the very opening scene where the previous Mr. and Mrs. Smith do not last long. You're like watching that first episode, and you're like, wait, I thought Donald Glover and Maya Erskine? Oh.
Got it.
Oh, okay. Well, now let's give our picks for shows bubbling under that we would like voters to consider.
All right, so there is quite a bit here, I would say, that are bubbling under. But I'm going to, because if you know me, you know that I love some broadcast TV. I'm going to give a shout out to Law & Order SVU this season. I know that
Shocked.
it is. I know you are shocked.
Shocked.
I know. Season 25, Mariska Hargitay gives one of her best performances she's ever given. And I'm honestly going to say, it hasn't been in the conversation for many years, and if it deserves to be back in it. So this is the season that it would be. I would really like to see that.
Yeah. Oh, Mariska forever.
That's right.
Yeah. No,
What about
absolutely.
you?
So, well, you know, I love me some dad TV.
Yes, you
because
do.
I am a dad and I watch a lot of dad TV. Idris Elba in Hijack was some of the most fun I had all year.
That was
okay,
really
it's
fun.
maybe not necessarily high art, but it had me hooked every episode. I couldn't wait to see what would happen. You know, he's on a plane, there's air traffic controllers. I mean, come on, dad TV.
And it's Idris Elba.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
let's be honest. I mean, procedurals at their max.
Yeah. And I forever love For All Mankind.
Yes.
That is my show.
Of
You know,
course.
that's my show. It's the alternative space race. Love that. And then I will give a shout out to Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty, because that's a show that was canceled. It should not have been canceled.
Yes.
We needed more episodes. And so any nominations for that show would be great, just to show HBO that they did us wrong. They did us dirty.
100%.
Yeah. All right, that's it for now. Join us again next time for another edition of Awards Circuit.
Thank you for watching.